Hi, all. Thank you for joining in for the session today. Today, it's just going to be me who's going to be walking through. So, my aim today is to cover 10 questions at least. And in that series, we'll kind of walk through all of these. Now, again, for the members who have seen my previous videos, the focus over here is to get you into the mindset of understanding the question, the concept, okay, and not do any form of a rote learning. Have a clear understanding of the concept and answer the questions correctly. Okay, so let's begin with question number 91 now. So we are saying that during the program planning, a high power stakeholder, VP of marketing, demands that the brand redesign project be accelerated by 3 months to hit a trade show. So one of the common things that would happen, right, wherein trade show is a good opportunity for us to kind of bring things together, and it might be a good opportunity for us to do that. However, and let's look into it, what is happening here. The program governance plan already drafted states that the schedule acceleration, which is what we're seeing over here, 3 months of schedule acceleration, requires a unanimous vote from the steering committee. So the governance board is very clear on how to handle these kind of changes. And the director has already indicated, remember the word here, indicated, they will vote no due to cash flow constraints, and that could be a very valuable thing as well, right? Because l- yeah, we would want to kind of speed it up, but we if we don't have the money, how can we? Now, yes, this is presenting a situation wherein one stakeholder is saying that there's an opportunity, we could speed it up and utilize that opportunity. The other stakeholder is saying that to speed it up, we don't have the money. Okay, and a program manager cannot support one or the other. Okay, a program manager has to ensure that the right process is followed. Now, in this case, what are we looking at? As the program manager, what is your correct immediate action? And let's go through the answers. Answer A, accelerate the schedule to satisfy the VP of marketing. We just spoke about it, right? A program manager cannot be in favor of one versus the other. Okay, so this itself kind of goes off. And again, right, we don't have the money, so can't accelerate. Update the governance plan to remove the unanimous vote clause to bypass the finance director. No, it doesn't work that way. In an ideal world, yes, you could kind of introduce certain changes in there, but real life things don't work that way. Okay, so and again, you can't just do on your own update the governance plan and remove the element without having the approvals from the steering committee. And the guidances come from the steering committee, not from the finance director. We're going to park C. We're going to park C over here. Use the management reserve to fund the acceleration without asking the finance director. You simply can't do that either. So even D goes off. Now where does it leave us? So let's see. Follow the defined governance process. That's what we are going to do as program managers. We're going to follow the defined governance process. Submit a formal change request to the steering committee and let the vote occur even if it fails. That's perfectly fine. You cannot decide it alone. You'll have to let the governance body decide it. And that's why when you go through the answer, which I'm going to flash up on the screen in a minute, the answer is C. Okay, let's move on to the next one. 92. You are in a formulation subphase of a high tech defense program. During an initial strategic workshop, okay, because during formulation phases, you're going to do a lot of workshops. A key stakeholder identifies a massive regulatory threat, okay, that could render the entire program obsolete in 2 years. It's a massive threat. The threat is currently theoretical, but has a high impact. We need to focus on high impact. Normally, all the threats are going to be theoretical. Where should this specific item be documented first to ensure it influences the go no go decision for the program charter? Now, this is one of those typical questions over here wherein you need to have a reference to which phase you are in and what decision you have to make. So, what I would request people is to pause this, think about the answer before you understand the explanation. Now, let's look into the explanations. I hope you have paused, you have understood the explanations, and now you're ready for it. So, let's look through it. Okay. Let's see things which we can easily eliminate. Program issue log, a threat. It is a threat, not an issue. So, issue log, not the right place to be in. Program risk management strategy. Yes, you would have a risk management strategy at a program level for which you will make a plan and you'll handle it. But which phase are you in? You're still in the formulation phase. Okay. You're not in a planning phase. So, would you really do program risk management strategy at here? You might have some high level strategy, but will that be the first thing that you would do before even the program charter go no go decision is happening? Not at this stage. Now it brings us to two very close answers: program risk register and program business case. I'm going to flash up the answer and then we're going to talk through it. The answer is the business case. Why? And let's go back to it. In the sequence of documents, the first document that you would ever create, or what would be already created for you, is the program business case. Okay. Now, the formal authorization of the program will happen via the program charter, and program charter will also have high level risk being identified into it. Okay. So, for enabling the go no go decision, the first document, obviously, that you're going to focus on in this situation is going to be your business case. So, get it recorded in the business case so that people know that what's going to happen. Okay. So, get it recorded in the business case. Post that, yes, you will do the program risk register as well. Hence, the answer over here, as I had shown earlier, is going to be the program business case. Please spend few minutes on understanding this question because yes, it's a trick question, but if you go back to my explanations, your high level risk, your high level constraints are going to be recorded in your business case as well as in your program charter. It's going to be recorded in both of those places. If you remember that statement, you would understand a critical threat like this, a killer threat like this needs to be recorded in both of these documents. In this case, the program charter is still being made. Okay. However, the business case is something that you would document this. And business case, remember, everyone, that when you talk about a program, your business case would change whenever a new threat, in this case, a major threat, a new strategic opportunity, or a complete change of strategies would occur. Okay. So once again, remember all of that when you're looking into the answers point of it. Okay. Cool. So that's question number 92. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 93. Now, obviously, I have bolded these over here, but in exam, you're not going to have these bolded. It's just while we're doing the practice, it just becomes a bit more easier for you to kind of bring in your thought process and kind of get this through. Okay, so you are in the planning subphase. Okay, governance body or board in this case has mandated customer satisfaction must be measured using NPS methodology, which is a very important thing. Remember, benefits and their KPIs, okay, have to be identified. Now, over here, for the customer satisfaction benefit, the KPI that the board has said has to be NPS. And what they have done is they have assigned the VP of sales as the owner. Simple as that, right? Benefits identified, you need to have a KPI for it, and you need to have an owner for it. That happens the moment any benefit has been identified. Okay, so that's just a natural part of the benefits journey. You need to record the new baseline NPS score, which is the current state, and the target NPS score, which is a future state. So imagine this, that your current baseline NPS score ranges, let's say, as 2.5, and your target NPS score needs to be 5. Okay. Now, the question is which document is the specific repository for these values? So, what are they saying? They are saying the values of this KPI, where are we going to record it? So, now let's look through the answers. A few of the things that we can try and eliminate easily. Program roadmap. Roadmap is primarily talking about milestones. Yes, milestones are going to deliver benefits. Totally agree that. But does program roadmap also measure KPIs? Not necessarily. It doesn't. Program governance plan. It's a very good answer, by the way, the program governance plan, because there's a guidance that has come in from the governance board. Okay, around what is the benefit and what is the KPI to be used. However, what we are talking over here is the baseline of that KPI and the target of that KPI. That's not what you would record in the governance plan. Now you got two very close answers, the benefits register and the benefits register plan. Now, if you take a pause and if you remember our earlier conversations, a plan is always about how you're going to achieve a particular task. Okay. Would a plan also have some reference to certain KPIs? Yes. But do we have a better document that captures that on an ongoing basis? Just not captures it, but also helps us track and monitor it on a regular basis. Any answers? Okay. Let me bring this up on the screen. The benefits register. Okay. And the answer is very much evident when you kind of start dissecting this. Okay. Even if you ignore the entire top point over here, what are you saying? You have a KPI for a benefit, you have a baseline score for it, you have a target score for it. Where would you record all the KPIs? In this case, KPIs for the benefits. Benefits register. Okay. How would you execute execute the program to achieve those benefits? Obviously, the benefits management plan. So please have that distinction in your mind when you're trying to look through these answers. Okay. Like I said earlier, the answer is the benefits register. Question 94. During program planning, you discover that the CFO is highly influential but currently resistant. Okay, so you got a stakeholder who holds very high influence but is resistant over here. Now, remember, stakeholder engagement is one of the key things that's going to be there throughout the program. Okay, and how the stakeholders are going to be engaging with the program, their influence with the program will keep on shifting. Okay, someone who might be supportive might become resistant. Okay, someone might who is resistant might suddenly become supportive. Someone who is extremely resistant might become neutral, and so on. Okay, so you need to obviously keep all these factors in mind. Okay, around stakeholder management or engagement rather. Resistant to the program financial model, you devise a confidential negotiation strategy involving a third party mediator to shift the CFO to neutral. Okay, fine. Just additional words over here. Confidential negotiation strategy involving third party mediator. Fine. So, primarily, you're saying that you have come up with an engagement plan, okay, to better engage with your CFO for this particular organization and help move that CFO on the engagement scale from resistant to neutral. If this strategy is written down, okay, strategy plan, in this case, they're saying that yes, they have got a plan, they have to write it down. Where would it be written down? When you read the exam question in this way, it becomes very, very clear that this is a how to question. Okay. Now, the moment you remember the how to question, it becomes very easy for you to kind of pick up the items. Now, you've only got two how to over here, the stakeholder engagement plan and the communication management plan. Okay. But let's look through on the top as well. Stakeholder register. Yes, it is a stakeholder register is also a confidential document, but it's more around day to day managing or engaging with, or rather, day to day identification and looking at what are the key needs of the stakeholder. Okay. It's just a register. So stakeholder register goes off. Program charter, see, understand, right? It's a confidential strategy. Irrespective of that, even if it's, let's say, it's not a confidential strategy, would you write how you're going to engage with each and every stakeholder on a program charter? A program charter is single page document. It's not going to have that many details being written down in there. How many things are you going to be able to fit in a small page? Too little. So program charter also goes off. Now you got two over here: engagement plan and communication plan. Now both of them are how to. Now in the question, do you see communication as one of the key issues? Unless it's mentioned, and as we are looking at the screen, there's no mention of communication being a issue here. So if communication is not an issue, okay, or rather communication is something that will come as an outcome, then what are we doing over here? We are talking about engaging with the stakeholder. Okay. Negotiation strategy. Okay. Shifting the CFO to neutral. That's nothing but your engagement plan. So, hence, when you look through the answer is stakeholder engagement plan. And as I mentioned over here, sometimes register, as we can see, would include these components and more as well. However, detailed, sensitive strategies on how we are going to engage with the stakeholder, always how is going to be engagement plan. Okay, last question for the day. You are finalizing the program definition. Okay, perfect. You're done with formulation and planning. You're almost kind of done with this. Finance director issues a directive, sorry. No program funds can be released for phase 2 until phase 1 has passed the third party audit. This is a hard constraint on the funding flow. Now, programs in their nature are going to have a much wider window on how they operate. and not all the funds are made available on day one. Mostly, what you're going to see is this kind of structure on the screen, wherein your program funds will be released as and when you're doing phase gate reviews. Okay, and the phase gate reviews would have their own set of conditions, constraints. You can use them interchangeably. Mostly in the PMI text, it is going to be constraints. This constraint acts as a boundary condition for the program. Where is it primarily defined? Okay. Now, you need to remember which phase you are in. Now, this is a super phase, right? The program definition, which has both formulation and planning. Is this the program cost baseline? Not necessarily. There are no numbers being thrown over here. So, not necessarily. If it's not the cost baseline, should it be the budget? Not necessarily either. So, now this brings us to two key financial documents. One is a framework, one is a management plan. Sorry. So, where does financial framework come into play? And unlike PMP, okay, with PgMP, you're going to have financial framework, which is primarily going to say how are you going to get these funds? Whom are you going to contact them? Are these going to be internal? Are these going to be external? What are the different conditions that will be there on those funds? Okay. For example, the World Bank partners different countries and their government organizations to sponsor different programs. And they would, while they are sponsoring those programs, they will tie in constraints, conditions, saying that here's the money and it can only be used for this particular program. You can't use it for anything else. That also kind of prevents misuse of funds. Okay. So here you're seeing it more from the perspective that the director is educating, is letting everyone know how the funds will be allocated, when they would be released, and what are the key constraints around it, around the funding flow. Okay, I'll reveal the answer and then we'll kind of look into the explanation. The answer is a framework. Okay, why? As disclosed earlier, setting the funding structure and the constraints, rules of the game regarding money sources and release conditions. We took the World Bank example as well for this. So, all that is something that is going to happen in the framework. Program, then what happens in the financial management plan? So, think about it in this way: framework is around how you're going to get the money, how you're going to allocate the money. Financial management plan is on when you get that allocated money, how are you going to manage that allocated money within the program? For example, now you got the money, and let's say two components have started. For those two components, you would be allocating that money, okay, so that they can seek to the completion, or they can kick off their entire process. So that is how this entire flow of things happen, and it's quite important for us, especially the members who are coming in from the PMP world, to kind of understand how things are slightly different when it comes down to the PGMP world. You would not have heard the word framework, financial framework to be specific, in your PMP journey. But if you go back to the grid, the financial framework is one of the key things that happens during the definition phase. And as a program manager, it's one of your key responsibilities to ensure that you abide by this framework. Okay, whenever you need the funds, the framework would tell you exactly whom you need to contact, when you need to contact, what kind of documents you need to kind of provide, what kind of approvals are required before you even go there. All those details will be provided, and that's what you can see in the question over here. Okay, so with that, we end our session for today. Thank you all for joining in, and have a wonderful day ahead.